Hello, I'm Connor from the ConnorandLandonshow, and welcome to part 5 of my Linkin Park album reviews. And this is the final part, which I'm going to be reviewing the latest album that came out by Linkin Park. This album came out on June 26, 2012, which was on Tuesday. And yeah, so this album is entitled Living Things. This album is actually my second favorite album by Linkin Park. Let me explain. As I said in the last video that I made, okay, I don't know what that was, but don't ask. So as I said in the last video that I made which entitled Update about Linkin Park stuff, I said in that Linkin Park was live streaming their entire album on iTunes, and all I can say is this: I listened to that album once by myself, once with Landon, and then probably 5 more times by myself playing Minecraft. Yes, I do. And playing Happy Wheels. Yes, I do. And yeah, I was listening to the entire album. All I can say is this album is so freaking good, so awesome. 12 out of 10 is how much I would rate it. This album is so good, not as good as Meteora, but this outbeat my love for Linkin Park's Hybrid Theory. It actually boosted it up to my second favorite Linkin Park album of all time. That is a milestone for what a Linkin Park album can do. And if we were to look at yeah, so all the songs on here are good and all that stuff. If I were to say for you to listen to some Linkin Park albums, how many songs you should listen to and what songs you should skip, Meteora, I would definitely listen to the entire album twice in a row. This, I would listen to it in its entirety. You cannot listen to one song off here. You have to listen to the whole thing. Hybrid Theory, you can listen to the whole thing, but skip Cure for the Itch. Minutes of Midnight, I would listen to the whole album except for tracks 1, 7, and 10. So listen, and on 1,000 Suns, I would tell you to listen to basically only the songs that actually have singing from the actual band in the actual songs. So do that. One thing to note about this album is that before the actual release of the album Living Things by Linkin Park, they actually released two lyric videos, which were for Burn It Down and Lies, Greed, Misery, tracks 3 and 4 off the album. And one awesome thing to note is that the last track of this album, track 12, Powerless, is actually was actually a music trailer song for the movie Linkin Park, Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter, which all I can say about that movie, it sounds like a dumb movie, but it's good. Same with the movie Cowboys and Aliens. It sounds like it's going to be a sucky B movie that's horrible, but it's actually pretty good. Coming next summer, George Washington, Dragon Slayer. If we get to see the front cover of this album, we actually get to see what looks like a guy who is made of steel and metal and is actually having the stuff ripped off of his body and left to, well, whatever that is. And one thing to note, if you didn't know this, that's actually Chester, who's actually in the front cover, and it's him, and he, like, got all the things, yeah, added on to him. And same with the lyric videos for Lost in the Echo, Burn It Down, and Lies, Greed, Misery. Those are actually all pictures of Chester enhanced and made to look special and all that stuff because they added CGI and all that stuff in it. So, moving on to the tracks. The tracks off this album are they're called Lost in the Echo, In My Remains, Burn It Down, Lies, Greed, Misery, All Be Gone, Cast Out of Glass, Victimized, Roads Untraveled, Skin to Bone, Until It Breaks, Tinfoil, and Powerless. And I honestly have no idea how to classify this album in a genre, because there's way too many genres in here to count. There's soft rock, there's electronic rock, there's nu metal, there's punk, there's folk music, there's regular rock, there's kind of just fusion metal in there, there's funk metal in there. There's a funk metal in there. There's a whole shitload of genres in there. So basically, it puts into one new metal. What do you know? So yeah, and as iTunes and the band themselves said, apparently I'm not sure about the history of Linkin Park because I'm gonna classify this very easily. I'm not a Linkin Park expert. I just guess about stuff. It states that on the iTunes and on the band themselves, they're apparently going back to their roots, and they say people who like the album Hybrid Theory and Meteor will like this album. Well, as you can tell, I agree. And if we were to open this up, we get to see the album itself, which is the CD itself, which is actually just says Linkin Park and hold on. It says Linkin Park and Living Things, and it's basically all black. It says the WB Warner Bros., which is the studio the music studio that owns Linkin Park, and we get to pull out the booklet itself, which actually has every single track, and it has lyrics next to it, and it has has a cool picture next to it. It has a picture kind of go along with the album thing itself. I mean the song itself. I am messing up a lot today. So yeah, and all I can say about this is I'm next going to say my top 5 favorite tracks from the album. So this is going to be very hard to do, but my top 5 favorite tracks from the album would have to be Lost in the Echo, Burn It Down, Lies, Greed, Misery, Castle of Glass, and Powerless. The other songs are really, really good, and one thing I pointed out when I first got the album, because my grandma bought it for me, but next to every single song, or on top of every single song, instead of having 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, instead they have dots and shapes to go along with it, and they have the dots simulating from track 1 to track 12 from all the songs from Lost in the Echo to Powerless. So yeah. And some of the songs off this album I learned, actually from E3, is that the song Lies, Greed, Misery is actually was actually a promo song for the game Medal of Honor from the EA press conference. Burn It Down was for the NBA Finals. Lost in the Echo is in the X Games, and the song Powerless, as I said, is going to be probably in the credits of the movie Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter. So yeah, that's pretty much it about the album Living Things by Linkin Park. I hope you enjoyed my reviews of every single album. And that's it. 3, 2, 1, I'm done. Subscribe. If I left anything out on any of the albums, please leave it in the comments, but just don't be an asshole about it. My next CD review will probably either be on Blink-182, Take Off Your Pants and Jacket, my 3rd favorite album by them, or it will probably be on Jack White, Blunderbuss. But before I can review a Jack White album, I have to review a White Stripes album. Subscribe.